All right. We're back. Happy Wednesday. Oh, happy Wednesday. Yes. Lucy's asleep on the couch, doing her thing. I'm here. It's Wednesday. What's up, Anna? How are you? Good to see ya. Hello, Jesus. Good to see ya. What's up, R-Dub? What's up, Moose Gal? Hello, Karen. What's up, Slow News Day? Hello, Susan. What's up, Chris Wynn? What's up, Statutory? Slow News Day says, hit the like it's on fire and full of herb. Please follow that advice. I'd appreciate it very much. What's up, DLJ? What's up, Frederick? Good to see everybody. What's up, Anne-Marie? I hope everyone is having a good Wednesday. It's a hump day. I was absent. Yesterday. Did I see the Fox Town Hall with Pete Buttigieg? I did not. Chris is going to send me info on getting a mesh network set up. Sweet. Please do. You just woke up? So did I. Joe Olivia, is that a new haircut, Ron? No, I've had this for a minute. I got my haircut like maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. What's up, Schultzy? Thoughts on the Sharks being made the NHL's bridesmaids for 2 decades? St. Louis, man, what a comeback story. I think it's going to be a really good, it's going to be a really good series. I do think that. So I'm excited for the series. And, of course, I'm pulling for Boston. My fiance's from Massachusetts, so I'm pulling for Boston. She's rooting for Boston. I'm going to be... I feel like if it was the other way around and the Pens were in the series, she'd root for them for my sake, so, All right, we are almost at 30, and we will officially begin a mesh network, by the way, not a meth network. Oh, hope everyone's having a good Wednesday. I'm actually going to respond to a couple things. We're going to expand on something that we started on Monday that I kind of wanted to respond to a little more. Howdy, Fred. Good to see you. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. We will get started here in just a moment as soon as we hit 30 on the lives. Constantly watching. Hi, everyone. We are at 34. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet me articles, you drop them in our Reddit subsection, and that's how we build the show. I'm seeing everything for the first time. Shout out to everybody who participated in my Reddit AMA on Monday. I had to think. Yeah, it was Monday. That was awesome. That was really freaking cool. I did an MAA. I did an AMA on Reddit over in the Way of the Burn Reddit subsection, and it was a really fun AMA. I'd never done one before. I'm still learning how to use Reddit. I'm still navigating it, and I think I did it right. Like, I think I followed the rules, and I did a good job responding. I hope so. If anyone posted something there and I didn't get to it, it's because I didn't see it. Because I was still kind of learning how to use Reddit as I went. I just refreshed the page and kept responding to everybody. And I hope I did a good job. I'm going to hopefully do another one when they want to have me back. And I enjoyed it. I'll do them anytime. So if any of you guys have Reddit subsections you want me to do an AMA, let me know. I had a fun time doing it over at Way of the Burn. And shout out to them for having me. And more people are using our Reddit subsection now, which is just hashtag R or /r/GetYourNewsOnWithRon. And I'm getting a little better at Reddit. So there's that. So yeah, we have some stories from that. And we're going to do Song of the Day first, and then we're going to do a topic. So, Song of the Day. Yesterday, you guys know I went offline for the day. I did not do a show, and it's because I had to attend a funeral, and pretty sad. I think I mentioned this on the stream before. I tweeted something about this. I don't want to go into a ton of detail, but this was in the news. So this did make the news locally here in the Los Angeles area. I don't know if it was national. I don't think it was. But a friend of mine was killed in a drunk driving accident. And it was a little uglier than that. Now, I didn't know this person very well. I had only gotten to know her for about a year, and she was one of my fiance's ex-coworkers, and they were pretty close. They were all pretty close, and, I kind of got to know them through my fiance, and she was always very friendly, really nice, just a really genuine person. Like, you just liked being around her, and I met her boyfriend. I only met him once. He seemed like a really nice guy. And we got news that they were involved in a drunk driving accident and she was dead. And we didn't know many details at first. We were like, was he driving? What happened? Were they both intoxicated? What went on? We come to find out that wasn't what went down. What did go down was he ran her over. So chances are what happened was she was probably trying to stop him from driving. We'll never know exactly what happened, unfortunately, but what one would speculate is that she likely was trying to stop him from driving, and he ran her over. And then you come to find out he was not the greatest guy in the world. We come to find out that, and this was all via the news, that this guy had some other DUIs on his record. Which, that's one thing you kind of think, gee, maybe this guy needs help he never got. Then you come to find out this guy had lost a job at a high school because he was messing around with underage students. So you kind of think, wow, it certainly seems like this was not a very good guy, right? I mean, that's a pretty logical conclusion. And nobody had any idea. No one had any idea. And her funeral was yesterday. So needless to say, it was a very heavy experience. And it was very... Man, I don't, it's hard to put it into words because, I've never been to a funeral for someone who was murdered before. It's not an experience I recommend. I feel like, that's an experience I feel like, if you can avoid that, you should. It's not a pleasant one. And, the whole time you're just kind of thinking, why the fuck did this happen? Why, why, this? You felt like you were in a bad dream where you were gonna wake up. It felt like this was all just a bad dream, and you were just gonna wake up, but it wasn't. It was real. It was happening. And then there's that sort of bittersweet element about life and death, where everybody comes together, everybody is there for one another, and there's something heartwarming about that. However, you also recognize that this has happened in horrible circumstances, and in particular, horrible circumstances here. This was a very, very tragic thing that happened, and something that God, why did it have to happen? So my song of the day, and I appreciate you guys hearing me out talking about it, but my song of the day was, as we were driving out of the cemetery, my fiance and I were driving out of the cemetery, and just to kind of break the ice a little bit, and just to kind of like get her talking, because she was really shaken up, and reasonably so. And especially when she saw her, it was tough because she didn't look like her in the casket. She didn't really look like herself, and it's probably because they had to do a lot of reconstruction work since she was run over. And I used to be a mortician's assistant, so I know a little bit about how that stuff works. I don't remember a lot of it at this point, but so that was pretty heavy. And so to break the ice, as we're driving out of the cemetery, I said, hey, what are some solid eulogy songs? And, we started talking eulogy songs, Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen, Death or Glory, The Clash. And what else did we name? We named quite a few. I brought up First of the Gang to Die by Morrissey. We just started naming songs. Like, we started thinking of songs that kind of just reminded us of the celebration of life and a passing on. And then we put on Sirius XM, and we put on Sirius XM. And as we're driving out of the cemetery, the song that was playing was Hey Ladies by the Beastie Boys. And we're thinking, well, this is definitely not a eulogy song. And then my fiance switched the station, and the song that happened to be on, which is a classic, and I hope you don't mind, but given the circumstances, the song of the day today is going to be a classic. It was Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. And that was kind of a particularly appropriate song for the moment we were having, and kind of just thinking about what we just witnessed, thinking about her family and her friends, and how something just so tragic happened. And then you wonder, why the fuck did that happen? Why does that have to happen? And it was Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd that was playing. So I recommend, the song of the day today is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. And that's a classic. We've all heard it. There's a good chance that some stone dude with a guitar ruined that song for you in college. That's what happened for me. If I got a dime for every time I went to a party and there was some stone dude, and it was always a dude, in the corner strumming Wish You Were Here on guitar, I'd be a wealthy man. And yeah, no. It ruined that song for me. I remember in high school there was this kid, and he also, and so not only did that happen in college, but in high school there was this kid, and he always got on my nerves. If I still knew him today, he probably still would. But he would sit in the dressing room and just strum Wish You Were Here on the guitar. I was in the musicals with him. He would just play, he never played anything else. Like, one time I asked him, I was like, hey man, can you play something else? And he just kind of laughed like he thought I was making a joke. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Do you know anything else? Do you, anyway. But it's still a beautiful song. Don't let a random person with an acoustic guitar take it from you. Wish You Were Here. Pink Floyd. Yeah. All right. The topic. I wanted to respond to some criticism I've received over my thoughts on the idea of a performer like me boycotting Georgia and Alabama. Now, I said my piece that, I don't think that's the way to go, because someone at my level, we're not making an economic impact. We're just punishing our fans that are there. And I don't believe in punishing the people of a state for the actions of their government. I just don't think that's the right way to do it. Now, if I was at the level of selling out theaters, then I'd have to have a different conversation, because even though in principle I don't believe in punishing people for the actions of their government, In this particular, for instance, I would be making an economic impact. But I'm not at that level yet. So the way I see it, I wouldn't be. And somebody pointed this out in the comments where they said there are other ways to participate other than simply boycotting. So if Ron goes to those places and talks about this issue, if he goes to the belly of the beast and he talks about it on stage, that's effective too. You can be damn sure I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, I promise you, I'd be talking about it. And that is another way to act. To go there and talk about it. And that would be my course of action. To go there and talk about it as opposed to a boycott. I just think that's a more productive thing for somebody like me to do. Somebody at my level to do. Now, some of you guys have said that that's wrong, and that's fine. I understand in principle where a lot of you are coming from. I think in some ways you're making a false comparison, but anyway, I want to go through some of the feedback I've gotten. So some people have said I've crossed a picket line. Okay, what picket line am I crossing? I'm not aware of any, union of progressive comedians that are boycotting Georgia and Alabama. I'm not aware of anything like that. I think all of us kind of see it as a judgment call to make, and I guarantee you some are going to make the decision I've made. Some are going to make a boycott decision. I don't think either one's necessarily right or wrong. I think it just depends on how you look at it. And I've made it very clear how I see it. Some of you guys said, well, Ron, you as one performer would not make an economic impact, but if everybody at your level boycotted, it would make an economic impact. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. And, I know in principle what you're getting at. Like, I understand that, one person does it, but if everybody, I don't shop at Walmart. As an individual, I probably don't make much of a difference. But if everybody stops shopping at Walmart, of course it would make a difference. I don't eat at KFC. If everybody stopped eating at KFC, it would make a difference. I understand all that, and I practice that in all those for instances. But in this particular for instance, I'm talking about not me as a citizen, me as a performer going to a place and performing where there is a consequence in regards to the people that would want to see you and not an economic impact. So you're saying, well, if everybody at my level boycotted, there would be an economic impact. There wouldn't be. Because everybody at my level, there is a local substitution that any venue in the country could easily just pop in there. So, no, it just wouldn't be an economic impact. There just wouldn't be one. Some of you accuse me that the reason I feel this way is because of money. I'm a mid-level, very left comedian. Do you really think Alabama and Georgia are big cash cows for me? I mean, really? Do you think that... I mean, come on. I understand if you disagree with me on principle, but accusing me of this coming from some place of greed, really, you think progressive comedians are like, man, I gotta go back to the hotbeds. Book me in Alabama and Georgia. First of all, I said in the last video, I'll repeat it again, I have no dates booked in either of those two places because I had just done the Southeast. I don't tour that much. I tour once a month. Sometimes I tour with Graham Elwood with the Progressive Comedy Tour. Sometimes I tour with Jimmy Dore for the live Jimmy Dore shows. Sometimes I just tour as an individual. Sometimes I'll do random one-offs because I have to be in a place for something unrelated. I had to be in Indiana for a family matter, so I did a show in Indianapolis. So I tour about once a month. And I do a region. So think about how big the world is. Because I can go outside the United States too. I can play England. I can play Scotland. I can play Australia. So whether I participated in this boycott or not, and by the way, I don't know of any organized, people at my level, some organized boycott. So again, I don't know what picket line I'm crossing here, but whether I participated or not as an individual in a boycott of performing in those states, it would affect my itinerary in no way whatsoever financially. In fact, if anything, it'd be the opposite, because, I mean, and I I could go through the ticket sales if you really wanted me to. Huntsville, Alabama was not one of the largest selling markets for the Progressive Comedy Tour. I guarantee. I know it comes as a shock. It comes as a shock. But the thing is that when Graham and I have gone to those places, the response that we've gotten has been people coming up to us saying, "Thank you so much for coming here. We needed a night to not feel alone. Thank you." And that means a lot. Hearing that means a lot. It means a fuckload. And then those like-minded people meet each other, and they start exchanging ideas. And they might team up on a cause. They might team up and form an alliance and connect with other people in their community. And then guess what? That community might start to get a little better for everybody there. And so that's the way I see it. I don't have some big financial incentive to perform in Georgia or Alabama, but I like performing all over the country. I see benefit in it, and I don't think a boycott is the way for someone like me to contribute. I would have a different moral call to make if I was selling out theaters, if I was selling out stadiums. Some people in the comments, they said that I'm broke and unknown, but I need the money from Georgia and Alabama. That was their... So add those two things up. So I'm broke and unknown, so nobody knows or cares about me, but I have some big financial incentive to go to Georgia and or Alabama. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? And I see how some people disagree with me in principle. I totally understand it. I get it, but again, I'm looking at it in practice. And for someone like me at my level, I think a more effective thing to do would be for me to go to be in those places when it's appropriate. I'm not just going to book shows for the damn hell of it there. I was in the Southeast region less than a year ago, so it's going to be over a year. I usually repeat markets about every 18 months unless, they're closer by or something like that, which the Southeast is not close to me. So, you can be damn sure the next time I'm in Georgia and Alabama, whenever that will be, I don't even know when it's going to be, because those are my big cash cow states. When are you performing there again? I have no fucking clue. It's not on the books. I don't have any shows. You can go to my website. There's no shows in either of those states. Ron's doing this for money. That's this. If you find yourself making up conspiracies about a dude streaming on YouTube from his apartment, might want to loosen up a little. I don't know. Call me crazy. Ron's doing... This is he makes a ton of money there. There's an organization. The Russians pay me to go to Georgia and Alabama. You caught me. But, so anyway, I wanted to respond to some of that because, I understand. I understand where people are coming from. It's just, again, and the one commenter that said it, I think, summed it up very nicely. There are other ways to participate other than a boycott. And Ron thinks he's more effective if he goes there and talks about it. And I do feel that way. If I would have an economic impact, I'd have a different moral conversation to have. Because then you can kind of wield that to actually grab power's attention. But artists at my level don't have an economic impact. Because there are local substitutes readily available for us. somebody who's playing theaters, they do have an economic impact. So, anyway, let me see what you guys are saying to that. Then we got to move on to some news of the day. Ron Musco wants to know, Ron, when you work in the South, what type of people show up? Awesome people, progressive people who are really freaking stoked that we're there. You know? So... let's see. That's cool, Ron. You gotta eat. I think the fact that you even brought up yourself not boycotting is the problem, Ron. Why? If you just said what Bama did is fucked up and I support reproductive rights, you would be fine. What Bama did is fucked up and I support reproductive rights. Of course I do. I just don't think that punishing the people that live there is the answer. Let's see. Like you said, you boycotting wouldn't make a difference economically, so why even bring it up? Because I brought it up before and people were commenting on it, so I wanted to respond to them. Do you have a show there coming up? I do not. Why even talk about it if you're not going there anytime soon? Well, because I brought it up before. People were making commentary on it, accusing me of having some big financial incentive, so I responded to it. That's all. Slow News Day says, to prove how wrong your state legislator is, I will deny you laughter. I'm helping. Yeah, exactly. So those are my feelings on it. I understand the other perspective, but that's my take on it. And yeah, I feel like we spent enough time on it. Okay, so let's move on to some stories of the day. Trump says he refuses to work with Democrats until investigations halt. So this happened this morning. President Donald Trump said in impromptu remarks Wednesday that he told Democrats at the White House he couldn't work with them while they are pursuing investigations into him and his administration. The Rose Garden speech came after an abbreviated meeting with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. I've said from the beginning, right from the beginning, you probably can't go down two tracks. You can go down the investigation track or you can go down the investment track. I walked into the room and I told Senator Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, this is Trump, by the way, I want to do infrastructure, but you can't do it under these circumstances. He said his message to lawmakers, that's a typo, check that out. I think that should be his. He said his message to the lawmakers was, get these phonies investigations over with. Earlier Wednesday, Pelosi had told reporters Trump was engaged in a cover-up. So what happened was the leaders of this country got together to talk about infrastructure, something we desperately need. And instead, Trump threw a hissy fit and walked out because earlier Nancy Pelosi said he's part of a cover-up. He said, I'm not part of a cover-up. And here's some more political theater for everyone. And if you find yourself saying, Trump's right, good for Trump, or if you find yourself saying, way to go, Nancy, good job, Chuck, you're being the sucker they want you to be. You're being the sucker they want you to be. This is bullshit political theater. That's all this is. And instead of talking about infrastructure, which we grossly need infrastructure solutions, imagine if we actually had nation leaders who are qualified for the job, who are respectable to the job, and who honor the job, and who actually want to be public servants, which Chuck Schumer, no interest in being a public servant. Nancy Pelosi, no interest in being a public servant. Donald Trump, no interest in being a public servant. Imagine if we had politicians that did, and they got together to talk about infrastructure, And they started laying out plans for an extensive rail line in this country. They started laying out plans to get us off fossil fuels. They started laying out solar grids and wind. You get the idea. Imagine that meeting happened in an era where we need to act on climate change yesterday. Instead, Donald Trump throws a hissy fit and storms out over nothing more than political theater. And they want you to pick a side. That's what they want you to do. That's what the media loves. The corporate media loves to have this kind of horse race, hyper-partisan punditry, good guy, good cop, bad cop narrative that keeps us from actually focusing on anything real that's going on. You should look at something like this and not find yourself cheering for one side or another. In this, for instance, you should look at something like this and be like, how does anybody respect or have any reverence for our political structure? It is a parody of a parody of a parody. I'll quote Slow News Day here. We're living in a cartoon. And not only a cartoon, a shitty one. A real fucking boring cartoon. Donald Trump is not a respectable president. Nancy Pelosi is not a respectable leader. Chuck Schumer is not a respectable leader. And, that's why when people ask me, Ron, would you ever consider running for office? I'm like, no, I can't. Because to run for office, you have to have some type of reverence for our process. And I don't. I just don't. I believe in acting locally. I believe in change locally. And I believe that can affect the nation. I don't think we're hopeless. But as far as our structure electorally, it is a parody of itself. Can we change that? Yes, we can. But the people who have to run for office are the people who have a little less cynicism towards all that than I do. And a lot of people do, and bless them for that. But I'm meant to be the outsider. And this is theater. And instead of talking about infrastructure solutions, which, by the way, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have no solutions. Donald Trump's solution is let's privatize everything and ruin our infrastructure even further. So even if they did talk about the issue, there would be one side with no solutions and one side with horrible solutions. But this is political theater, and this is something that the media amplifies constantly to avoid us from looking at what's really going on. This is a joke, and these little episodic hissy fits, these little episodic, for instances, all they do is rile up Trump's base, and in the long run, it's actually helping him. So if you find yourself, oh, the resistance, like, no, this is theater. This is theater. They're trying to trick you into picking a boxer. And at the end of the day, both boxers are fighting for Wall Street. All right. Let's see. Okay, so today, there's some significance of today. Today is Harvey Milk Day. Now, Harvey Milk Day is not a public holiday, but today is Harvey Milk Day. Harvey Milk was the first openly gay person to be elected to public office in a major city in the U.S., serving on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors from 1977 to 1978. His life and political career embody the rise of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender civil rights movement. While in office, Milk worked to pass a gay rights ordinance and defeat Proposition 6, commonly known as the Briggs Initiative, which would have banned gays and lesbians from teaching in public schools. Milk encouraged LGBT people to be visible in society and believed in achieving social equality. Milk was assassinated in 1978 by a former colleague on the Board of Supervisors whose politics often clashed with Milk's. On October 11, 2009, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger established Harvey Milk Day to be held as significant observance on May 22nd, which is Milk's birthday. And, of course, the movie Milk came out about his life, the movie Milk. And that's a really cool movie. I recommend checking it out. So Happy Harvey Milk Day, everybody. All right. Let's see. So this piece of news takes us to New Jersey. After Elizabeth Police Director ouster over using racial slurs, acting union prosecutor vows deep dive to fix a department. The new acting union county prosecutor promised Elizabeth residents at a meeting Thursday that her office will fix the city police department that has been mired in controversy since an investigation revealed last month that the former police director, James Cosgrove, had used racist and sexist slurs against his employees. Acting prosecutor Jennifer Davenport discussed her office's review of internal affairs complaints and pledged to look into residents' concerns about racism and racial disparity in the department. So here's a quote from Davenport. There's not a day that goes by that this is not a number one topic we are discussing and the thing that we're working on. And apparently this was a long ongoing thing of racism in this particular department and from this particular person, James Cosgrove. And again, law enforcement is a systemic problem that has a lot of issues in systemic racism. And until you kind of view it as a systemic problem, we're not going to see a lot of changes. It's great that they got rid of this guy. That's a good thing. Like, it's awesome they got rid of him. But, we need a huge systemic change in law enforcement. And just outing one random racist, that's not going to bring the power. It's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad he's gone. But we need a systemic solution for a systemic problem. We need to completely revamp the way police officers are recruited, the way they're screened, the way they're trained. We need to give civilians a seat at the table, something like Michael Wood was talking about with civilian-led policing. We need to, I think, restructure the idea of the job itself. I mean, just the job of a police officer. It makes no sense that you have to kind of know a little bit about so many different things, and then you're likely to find yourself in a situation where you have no clue what the fuck to do. A police officer may have no clue how to de-escalate a situation with somebody who is schizophrenic or something like that. And that's why you hear about all these shootings. So, I mean, we need to revamp what the job itself is supposed to do. We need to revamp how people are screened and trained. There are members of the KKK who get into the police force. That is wrong. That should not happen. Because if you're supposed to serve and protect, if you subscribe to a belief system that you think not all people are worth serving and protecting, you don't get to be a police officer. Plain and simple. So we need a systemic solution for law enforcement. I'm glad that they got rid of this guy, but we need a real systemic solution. And I think the only way that's going to happen is one community at a time. But it's going to take a community doing something pretty big. All right, we got some telecom news, and then we're going to end on something kind of positive. All right, Trump's FCC chair accused of betraying public interest mandate. Oh, you think? He always betrays the public interest. But he's accused in this particular, for instance, Ajit Pai, accused of betraying public interest mandate by backing the T-Mobile Sprint mega merger. Okay. Consumer advocates rebuked FCC Chairman Ajit Pai on Monday after the Trump appointee backed the proposed mega merger of T-Mobile and Sprint. Ajit Pai doesn't even try to pretend that he works for the public. This was said by Fight for the Future Deputy Director Evan Greer. Evan's awesome. We've had her on the show before. She's awesome. He seems to take smug pleasure in being a blatant telecom shill. Pai's approval followed what Engadget put as a fresh round of promises from the companies to win regulators' hearts. Those promises, which the advocacy groups say nothing to do to prevent the harms of the proposed merger, include Sprint divesting from Boost Mobile, the deployment of nearly nationwide 5G network within 6 years, expanding high-speed wireless service, and facing billions in fine if the agreement is violated. Pai's statement also referenced the prior commitment not to raise prices for 3 years made by the two companies. So he believes that this merger is in the public interest, even though it is not. Even with the condition announced today, said Philip Berenbrock, Senior Policy Counsel of Public Knowledge, the merger continues to be illegal under antitrust laws and contrary to the public interest. Among the key concerns advocacy groups have raised about the merger is that consumers would face higher prices and new commitments would do nothing to quell those concerns. The new company, said Broderick, would charge consumers higher prices by increasing fees and surcharges or by merely eliminating its legacy rate plans entirely. Furthermore, Chairman Pai's rate regulation condition is limited to only 3 years. Consolidating the wireless market from 4 nationwide competitors down to 3 nationwide competitors will lead to enhanced market power. What's more, said the Free Press Vice President of Policy and General Counsel Matt Wood, the merged company Spectrum wouldn't allow for decent rural coverage at 5G speeds. T-Mobile and Sprint are already building 5G networks without the deal. So this is an affordability crisis. All right. So yeah, this merger is not good on every level. On every single level, this merger is not good for consumers, for technology. This merger is just not good. Ajit Pai, of course, supports it full-throatedly because he is a telecom shill. That's the best designation for him. So we're going to keep an eye on this merger. And that is more bad news from big cable. It's good news for big cable. It's bad news for everyone else. And here's something else that's going on with net neutrality. Telecom-friendly House Democrats are pushing a letter to undermine net neutrality. Fight for the Future has learned that a handful of House Democrats are shopping around a letter that echoes ISP lobbyist talking points, incorrectly claiming that the Save the Internet Act to restore net neutrality is dead, and calling for the creation of a disingenuous bipartisan working group, modeled after the one created in the Senate by Senate Roger Wicker and Kristen Sinema, who are opposed to net neutrality. They're opposed to net neutrality. So again, this goes back to all of the fake Republican bills for net neutrality, where they were having a compromise bill, which didn't actually give us net neutrality. It was just a bullshit bill. They're calling for more of this because they're saying the Save the Internet Act is dead. It's not dead. It's in the Senate. It's not dead. And something similar was pushed through by the Senate about a year ago. So it's not dead. But they're already pushing for this because they don't want that bill to go through. The Save the Internet bill is a 3-page bill. It's very simple, and it just takes us back to the net neutrality protections we had on the books in 2015, which were good net neutrality protections. That bill just says, hey, that repeal of net neutrality, that was wrong. We're going back to net neutrality. That was right. That's the way it goes. So, let's see what else is going on here. So the letter, a copy which was obtained by Fight for the Future and is posted below, is unnecessarily misleading. So here's the deal. The letter has not yet been released, and many of the signers may not be aware of its true intent. Below is a list of reported signers. So you can access this at medium.com, and it's at Fight for the Future's Medium page. So medium.com at Fight for the Future. That's FTR for Future. And you can find this article. Here's the list. So you can call these representatives, and you can say, do not support this letter. We do not need another fake net neutrality bill. We do not need another fake bill to preserve net neutrality. We need the real one. We need the real one to go through. We need the Save the Internet Act to go through. And in the meantime, we got to pursue municipal broadband all across the country. Why? Because big cable has abused giving us internet. They've abused that privilege, by the way. The internet, we all created the internet. We made the internet. We made the internet what it is. They do not have the right to take the free and open internet from us. They're supposed to provide us access to the internet, and they have abused that many times over. And they want to abuse it further. So we need to take that out of their hands and put it into the hands of cities and municipalities where it should have been in the first place. We should have never allowed this organized duopoly to happen in the first place. But we did, and now we need to take our internet access back. And we need to hold the line for net neutrality in the meantime. So we need the real Save the Internet bill to go forward. None of these fake bills. And thanks to Fight for the Future for staying on top of this. All right. So here's a positive thing. So somebody put this in the Reddit subsection. I believe Martin, who helped organize my AMA, which I had a really fun time in that AMA. He organized a lot with the AMA, and then he wanted to turn me on to this. So here's something going on in East Lansing, Michigan. This is East Lansing Info, and what is this? This is a co-op that's part of the Institute for Nonprofit News. And by the way, this is a local organization committed, or a regional organization committed to providing high-speed fiber to the home, and is committed to a free and open internet. So this is a company committed to that. So what is ELI? East Lansing Info, known as ELI, is a nonprofit, citizen-run local news cooperative of the people, by the people, and for the people of East Lansing, Michigan. They provide free, local, nonpartisan, accurate news and information about East Lansing. So what makes it different from other local news organizations? In an effort to promote community news sharing and to focus especially on East Lansing, they confined itself to local news and information and encourages audience members to consider participating. So what does it mean when we say that they're independent? So this organization, this media outlet, is not affiliated with local government. It's nonprofit, and it's overseen by a volunteer board of directors. In keeping with the standards of the Institute for Nonprofit News, of which we are a proud member, our organization make public which donors give a total of $5,000 or more. We will not accept anonymous donations, only if it is clear. All right. So they're very transparent about who is giving the money. We do not take donations from individuals seated on or running for East Lansing City Council or for school board. We reserve the right to refuse donations from other individuals if we believe the donations could detract from our reputation as an independent, trustworthy, and reliable news source. The board reviews possible corporate sponsorships and will decline any that might cause us editorial or reputational difficulties. We do not publish any sponsored content. What that means is a paid commercial that's passed off as journalism or native advertising. So Norway, who ranks number one, actually, let me make sure it's Norway. I know at one point it's still Norway. Okay. So Norway, who is still number one in press freedom in the world, what they have is they have a board. Like they have this, but it's nationwide. They have something similar to what East Lansing's talking about. They have that nationwide. And what that board does is it assures press freedom for journalists. It assures freedom of the press in that regard, that journalists are protected. It also assures protection for consumers. You know exactly who's funding them. You know where their money is coming from. You know, like just any potential conflict of interest. They have to be transparent about all that. And there are very heavy rules on how much media one company can own. There are very heavy protections so that they prevent homogenization and consolidation of the media. They have all these rules in place. These rules equal better press freedom. So East Lansing and the Institute for Nonprofit News, they're doing something like this on the local level. And if something like this were to spread nationwide and become a national policy, well then we could actually have a valid media structure here in the United States. Right now we don't have one. We straight up don't have a media structure in the United States. So Martin wanted me to bring this to the attention of people, that this is going on in different communities. He brought up for instance, in East Lansing. The way I see it, something like this needs to happen in every community in the country. And if this is of interest to you, please explore what they're doing in East Lansing and spread the word. Yeah. All right. Let's go see what you guys are saying. That's how we're going to end the show today. All right. Martin says, if you haven't hit that like button yet, get on it. Please do. Please hit that like button. Yes. All right. So, guys, we are out of time. This has been Get Your News On with Ron. I got tour dates coming up. I'm coming out east. Washington, D.C., Baltimore, New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, New Haven. Get your tickets now. Do not wait. RonPlacone.com for all those tickets. RonPlacone.com for all those tickets. July 27th, we're coming back to Vegas, baby. Vegas, baby, July 27th. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content. You help me expand this show. You help me build this show. I'm getting some new equipment. Next week, this show's going to look different, and it's because of the patrons and the members. Thank you so much for that. If you got an extra $1 a month, please consider throwing it my way. If you don't, that's totally cool. Like and share these videos. When you play these videos, have an autoplay going on in a separate window so all the ads play. And don't just do this for me. Do this for all the content creators you love. It helps sustain our channels. Thank you so much for that. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. We will be back tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Right here on YouTube, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. You guys are awesome. Thank you for sending me these great articles and turning me on to all these cool things going on in different communities. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, consider the news gotten. That doesn't even make sense. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.